Good to see you. Thanks for joining me. Today I wanted to take a look at some of the rumors regarding an upcoming Microsoft Xbox handheld game console. This is a very interesting topic to me, and I primarily want to discuss, should Microsoft and Sony attempt to compete with Nintendo in terms of the portable gaming market with the hybrid consoles that are portable but can also be connected to a dock for the purpose of playing on TV. So should Microsoft and Sony compete with Nintendo? And the answer is unequivocally, absolutely yes, absolutely. Now, I feel quite strongly about this because it is not good for any business, for any company that produces products and services. It's not good for any business to go unchallenged, to go unrivaled. Any business that operates without competition will eventually realize, oh, we can charge whatever we want, we can lower the quality of our products, and we can just do whatever. It doesn't really matter. The customer has no other options. So I'm not saying that Nintendo is doing that. I'm not saying that any company is doing that, but we do see that this is a behavior that is quite predictable. We see that when businesses go without competition. So it is absolutely vital, and hopefully I can say this in a non-offensive way, and if you'll pardon my French, it would be very nice if Sony and Microsoft get their act together, because what they're doing at the moment is not very good. They are allowing Nintendo to basically go without competition, to go unchecked. And if they don't step their game up, it means that products and services can become more expensive, and the quality of the products and services can become worse because there's no one to challenge that. I personally would really, really like to see Sony get their act together and produce another handheld console. Not the Portal. The Portal is not what I want out of a console because it is basically just a device that lets you stream your PS5 games using a very, very strong internet connection. Not every place in the world has great internet connection. Sony was working towards this concept with the PS Vita and the PS4, and it never worked great for me. I tried to use it as much as I can because I'm a massive, massive fan of Sony stuff, and I still play the Vita. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. I still play PSP. I tried to use the Vita and the PS4 with the off-screen play, the remote play, as much as I could. And it was frustrating because the games would stutter and you would end up getting killed by enemies because the game would just not be very fluid, and it would, you know, it would sort of disconnect a little bit while you were playing the game. So I would really, really like to see Sony create a new portable handheld console, not just on a professional level, but on a personal level. As a fan, I would really like to see the Vita too. The Vita is, it just feels so premium with the all glass surface on there. Just cool. So in general, Nintendo has been operating in its own space, and then Sony and Microsoft are competing a bit, but I would really, I believe the industry would be in a much healthier place, would be in a much better place if Microsoft and Sony were to challenge Nintendo more and to stop making stupid decisions. Things like focusing on live service games instead of producing quality gaming experiences, focusing on monetization where you're basically stripping out the core experience to shove in microtransactions, because there's this belief that if you target enough whales are players that are willing to spend a significant amount of money, and you can earn a significant amount of revenue from whales at the cost of destroying the trust and goodwill that you have with your existing audience. It's not healthy for the industry to move in that direction. It will result in games becoming further monetized and the existing customer base, the players becoming significantly more jaded and cynical, and it results in the expectations of gamers changing in a very negative way. So it's not it's extremely bad to keep pushing towards whale hunting, towards chasing monetization in the form of microtransactions. It sucks. It makes the game suck. That's all it comes down to. So what would it take for Microsoft and Sony to challenge Nintendo? They need to do something better. Sony and Microsoft need to have some defining trait if they are to challenge Nintendo in the portable gaming space. They need something, whether that be a better screen, better battery life, better connectivity, better services, better interface, better digital shop experience. I am not here to mobilize enemies to go against Nintendo. I want to see all of these companies thrive. I don't want to see Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo fail. I don't want to see any of those drop out. We need the big three here in order for the industry to thrive. What Sony and Microsoft need to do is find the right people who can pinpoint the weaknesses of Nintendo's products and services, and then to create products and services that point that out and say, hey, look, Nintendo's not so great when it comes to the eShop. Check out our digital storefront. Look how smooth and fluid it is. Look how great it is to just log in and the store can recommend games, similar to how Steam is able to recommend games to you based on the games that you seem to enjoy. Steam storefront recommends games that it thinks you may like. The wrong direction would be to take ad sponsorships from companies and then to shove games into players' faces. I keep getting ads popping up on my computer for Avowed. I don't even use my computer for gaming. I don't play any particular game, and it's very annoying when I'm trying to work and I work fast. I'm clicking on everything, with game development. My mouse, I used to wear out a couple mice every year. I'm using a trackball now, but I work very quickly, and sometimes I'll end up clicking on an ad for a game like Avowed, and then now Microsoft is, or whatever, Windows is reinforced, and Windows thinks, oh, you clicked on that ad for Avowed, you must like it. We'll keep showing the same ad to you. And I clicked on it because it popped up and it got in the way of my work. And I've tried turning it off and it keeps happening. So that sucks. I don't want to see that. I believe Sony and Microsoft would be able to catch up to Nintendo if they pinpointed Nintendo's weaknesses in their products and services and built their own products and services better. It's going to be extremely difficult for Sony and Microsoft to catch up to Nintendo when it comes with first-party titles because Nintendo focuses on producing great experiences. Nintendo games are fun. They are of a particular quality where if you jump into it, in general, you know that it's going to be fun. Their games are generally easy to jump into, but not every Nintendo game is for everyone. Say, for example, Princess Peach Showtime. I watched a little bit of a YouTube video the other day from someone that said they really wanted to like it. They jumped into it and it just wasn't for them. And that's something you have to keep in mind. Not every game is going to appeal to everyone. What Microsoft and Sony really should be focusing on is creating games that are just fun, that are easy for people to jump into, that are low investment, that do not force people to commit themselves to a schedule. You have to play this much every day because there's a limit to the amount of live services, as we have already seen. People have a limited amount of time and there's a limited number of people in the world. So trying to push live service games is going to dig a deeper and deeper hole for Microsoft and Sony here. They have the funding. These companies have the funding and they have the resources. What they lack is the leadership and the organization to mobilize and set up studios to focus on producing They do not need to be giant titles. They don't need to be these massive. Not every game needs to be God of War or GTA. Games can be medium-sized experiences with immense amount of replay value through the in-game content itself, through discoverability, through variety, through variation, instead of escalation. If Sony and Microsoft focus on setting up teams to develop first-party titles, smaller and medium-sized titles that are just fun, that offer new and interesting ideas, find developers who have new ideas, who want to bring something exciting to players, instead of shoveling out the exact same live service formula that people are really getting tired of, and it is very difficult to get that right. We've seen more failures than successes in the industry when it comes to that. So I strongly believe Sony and Microsoft have what it takes to challenge Nintendo's Switch 2, and I believe that they really need to. Sony and Microsoft need to step up their game, and when I say that, I mean they need to stop making stupid decisions based on leadership that is focused solely on chasing trends from last year. That's done. The industry needs to move forward, and I want to be excited about Microsoft and Sony games, and over the past couple of years, it's been boring to me, unfortunately, and I like these companies. And I want to see what their take would be on their portable consoles, their handheld consoles. It's a bad idea to fracture their audiences when it comes to, oh, we've got, this is the Xbox 720Z, and then this is the Xbox 720Y. But if you can't afford that, we have the Xbox 720M. If you fracture your audience like that, people are going to check out. It's so confusing. So if these companies are to step into the portable handheld space, it's going to have to be in a way that is not confusing. That is something that Nintendo has achieved with the Switch, is that there's just one platform. They stopped doing, their DS and 3DS lines. They just did the Switch, and they said, this is a home console, and it's a portable. Sure, there were trade-offs for that. The Switch 2 will be significantly more powerful, but Nintendo has not fractured their audience the way that they did, say, for example, with the 3DS and new 3DS. As a developer for those platforms, it was difficult for me as a developer, because I had to explain to people, these are my games, this one is new exclusive, it won't work on the original 3DS, it only works on new 3DS, and you have customers who don't keep up with all of the news with that, so they'll think, well, I bought a new 3DS, and they hear the word new, and they think brand new, they don't realize it's a different model. It's frustrating for customers, it's frustrating for developers. So that's what I wanted to discuss today. Absolutely, Microsoft and Sony really should be going up against Nintendo's Switch 2, and I really hope they do, not just as a professional, but personally. I really want to see what cool stuff they can make. I think it would be great. And all of this business of, there's a leak for the Microsoft handheld, and we're seeing pictures of the ROG2. That's not it. That's just another Windows gaming machine. I want to see great interfaces. I want to see great storefronts that can recommend games that would actually fit your tastes. Discoverability has been a huge issue for games on Nintendo's digital storefronts. I really want to see Sony and Microsoft challenge that. It's good to have competition in this space. It will push the developers and leadership to work harder, to do better, to provide better products and services, and to offer competitive pricing. Thanks very much for spending some time with me and sharing in this topic with me. I'm very, very busy with work at the moment. I have much less time for doing these videos. I have much less time for using the internet right now, and I never even really used the internet that much before. So for the next 2 or 3 months, I have even less time for that. I have a lot of work on my hands. So I apologize if I'm not able to keep up with the comments as much as I used to. I will try to, but I have a number of products that I'm finishing up right now that are kind of high priority. So thanks very much. I'll put some other videos on screen if you're interested in seeing some other topics. Please have fun, take care, be well. All right, we'll see you around.